Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. Recently, the Scrapbook Expo was in town in September, and I love going to that because you see companies that you're familiar with and companies you're not familiar with. But my inspiration today comes from Elizabeth Craft Designs and their newest mouse collection. I want to go back and just look at the second collection real quick before we jump into the latest collection because these all came out this year. For the mouse collection, you need the original two dies, or one of the original two dies. This is a little mouse, and then this is the big mouse die. And you will need this for all the collections if you want to dress your mice. Now, sadly, my local stamp and scrapbook store closed here in September. And before they did close their doors, I was able to nab the second collection, and I haven't had a chance to play with this. On the first collection, I used it in a mini album for 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and I'll put the link in the description box in case you want to look at that. But let me just show you what was in the second collection. These are all more summer themed, and then we're going to take a look at the third collection, which I just purchased at the Scrapbook Expo. So we've got the golf accessories, and this is to dress the mice. This is with the little mouse. And sometimes some of the pieces can be put on the big mouse. You just have to play with it and check that out. Then they have the football and baseball accessories. The other thing I like to look at is all these other little pieces. And we're going to find that in the third collection, there's a lot of them that we can use independent of the mice, just like we could here. There's the travel accessories. Again, this is a little mouse one. The football and baseball was for the little mouse, for the clothing anyway. And then I love the scooter with the sidecar. I can't wait to play with this. And this has both the big mouse, the little mouse, and you can use it separately. You could just have the scooter by itself. And then there's these mustaches that come with it that you could use again for, some of the other accessory sets. The beach scenery. I'll really get into this one in the middle of the winter when it's cold and we're waiting for the sun to come out. Nice big pieces on this. I look at this, what I'm thinking is probably like a towel, but if I needed a rug for something, that might be perfect. And then finally, the beach accessories. So to dress up our little mice, the large and small mouse. And that's a pretty jam-packed set. Look at all these sunglasses and those large size hats. Definitely I can think of other uses besides just the large and small mouse to use those accessories with. So let's take a look at the third collection that just came out of the mouse. And these are more winter themed. And I basically use the big mouse collections. I do have a couple of the small mouse, or the little mouse sets. Again, I needed to have these two sets to be able to have the mice to dress up. So here's the first one. The mouse is dressed up, and this is a big mouse, the side view of the big mouse with the big mouse winter accessories. And you can see the puffy coat, the overalls, two styles of hats, and then the skis and the poles. So a pretty full set there. So with this guy, you can use it with either the mouse heading forward or what I did here was the side mouse. They work either way. One thing I will say about the pants are the overalls. So like if you didn't want the overall for some reason, you could, die cut above the waistline here, but all of the pants are basically the overalls. And then on this one, I did put the sweater underneath the overall. Here it shows it on top of the overall. So you can, mix and match a little bit and change up your outfits. We'll look at the puffy coat here in just a second. But very easy to dress your mouse however you want. And then for the tree and the sled, this is another set. This is the winter scenery accessories. And this one is shown with the little mouse. So you can kind of see the difference in sizes here. Like this one's big enough to pull the sled, and this one can easily sit on the sled. The trees come with like some snow, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. I just made the larger tree and I thought, well, if I'm putting it on a sled, probably a lot of the snow has fallen off. This is how I justify things for making it simpler. And so I just took a white gel pen and kind of drew in where some snow would be. You could do this as well, and I'll do this here on the next one. But you can see nice sized trees and a nice and large sled. So that's my mouse pulling the sled. Now let's look at a mouse who is going to ski. And this is the mouse looking straight forward. And I have the small tree this time. And I did put the snow on it. And then here's my skis, the puffy little down fill jacket. I love that. And I don't know if you can see the embossed lines on it. And then I used one of the styles of goggles and this different hat, the second hat. For the trees, let me just do this. You can kind of see the different sizes, the small and the large. And the one thing I discovered, so of course, after I cut these pieces out for the snow, there's one for the small tree and one for the large. I carefully tried to line it up just like it was here. And I decided, you can just put the snow wherever you wanted. So I think this is the one where I first started lining them up. And then sometimes I had a hard time trying to figure out which piece it was. So I'm like, it really doesn't matter. Just glue the snow on any way that you want. For the size of the mouse, this is, I just put stuff together and I didn't really think of my card size. He or she will fit on an A2 size card, but let's just measure, and I'm just going to measure from the top of the ear to the bottom of the shoe here, and I'm going to say that's about 4 3/8, and the width from ear to ear is about, say, 3 5/8. So it's a nice size, large mouse, but it will fit on an A2 size card, especially if you put it in the vertical rather than the horizontal side of the card. So easy to dress that, perfect for the holidays. These are ideal for the winter holidays and not necessarily just for Christmas if you need something other than just Christmas. So let's take one more mouse. This is the little mouse, and the little mouse does have its own accessories. So little mouse winter accessories, snowboarder, again, 2 styles of goggles, 2 styles of hats, a sweater, and a smaller down-filled vest. And this time there's just the bottoms, like the pants. There's not an overall, just the pants. But again, so cute, so perfect for the winter holidays. This is the straight-on mouse. And again, this would decorate the side view mouse. But here's the difference in size of the mice. So the little guy, we'll just measure him real quick. So we've got his measurement. I'm going to say he's about 3 3/8 inches tall, and his width is about 2 3/4 inches tall. So what is that? Probably about an inch shorter and an inch narrower, if I'm thinking of my numbers correctly there. Use both the trees this time. Again, this time I just put the snow where I thought it would be. I didn't try to follow the picture. And the tree and sled snow is the winter scenery accessories. And then you see another piece back here, this cabin, and that is called cabin. So really the cabin, the trees, and the sled could be used for any scene, not just with the mice, with any scene, but a nice large size. One thing that's really neat, and it is not reflected on my sample very well, are these logs, the end of the logs that go here on the side, and those are all embossed. And I won't go into my problem here, but I had such thin paper, it didn't emboss those lines very well. The door does open, so if you want to put something inside, I just put a little glue dot there because I didn't have anything inside, but you can certainly put something inside there of that cabin. And my little mouse this time has the puffy vest, and then this would be like this. I just put the sleeves on from the sweater. But easy to do, and it's actually, I get kind of carried away die cutting all these clothes and then dressing all the mice. So that is like the winter themed mice, large and small mouse, or little and let me get their names right, the little and big mouse. So then another set that's out is the artistic mouse. Let me show you this die set. This is art accessories. So there's 8 die sets in this collection. And here's the art accessories. I love how he is painting the mouse portrait there. But again, I always like to look at all the other pieces. If I didn't have the mouse, I would still be able to use all these other pieces. Good size easel, the palette, the brushes, just a lot of great pieces that I can use for something other than just with the mice. One thing I did have fun with was what's he going to be painting? So this one was the mouse portrait. Love that. I just cut a piece of paper and thought, oh, he could be doing something abstract. Here's some flowers. I could just stick that on there. Um, Whatever you want. Maybe you want to send this to somebody and you have their picture. You could put their picture up there, print the picture off like he's painting their portrait. Since we're in the fall and Thanksgiving is coming up, I thought he could be painting a pumpkin. I like that. If I wanted to use him maybe for Christmas, he could be painting a Christmas tree. Whether you had a picture of a Christmas tree, paper with a Christmas tree on it, or, a die cut, whatever you wanted to do. Again, this is with the side view, but you could also dress the mouse if he was looking forward. So I love this set. I think this is a great year-round set I can play with. And then this one, again, perfect for the holidays or really any time of the year, is our little chef mouse. And this is called Baking Accessories. And this one, I was just like, wow, look at all these pieces that are a nice size that are separate from his outfit. The mixer, I love with the bowl. There's 2 bowls, various utensils, a pie with a dome dish. I love this little mouse here. Maybe we'll have to call him, I don't know. He's like more of the mouse that you'd go after than this cute little guy. Eggs, a skillet, um, bread. I mean, just chock full of great dyes that we can use for something other than just with the mice if we're making something to do with cooking. So this little mouse, or he's actually the big mouse, is cooking whatever, mixing up something there delicious. The table is just something that I cut out because I needed something to hold up the mixer a little bit. And then there is a stamp set that we can use with this. And this is one of the new stamp sets called In the Kitchen Sentiments. And I do like this because, again, there's a few different ones that I haven't seen before. Count memories, not calories. I like that. Do more of what you love. Now, you could do this on any set that is you're sending to somebody of what they love to do, no matter what it is. The secret ingredient is love. Happiness is homemade. Just some great, great sentiments. Thanks for dinner, which is kind of a neat one if you're sending a thank you card for somebody who invited you over for a meal. So this one is great. And again, you can use this with maybe some other things that don't involve cooking. And another cooking related set, and I'm going to show you the die set first, because even if you're not into the mice, you might be into cooking, maybe not vegetables, but you're into cooking. So look at this great cooking pot and look at all of the vegetables that come with it. And what I love is this is generous sized vegetables. Even if you're not into vegetables, it's fun to die cut them out of white paper and color them in. But you can see the pot here, good size with a lid. And if you wanted a solid pot, say you didn't want to see inside of it, well, just use this outer die here to cut your solid pot if you want to have the pot plus be able to see inside. Then there's this die here that cuts out an opening in the pot. And veggies galore. This is a painless way to have your vegetables if you are not a person who likes to eat them. So I combine this with the baking accessories. So here's another of the big mouse dressed up again more as a chef, and Then he's got his spoon, his bowl. He's standing in front of the pot. He kind of blocks some of the pot, but you get the idea of how yummy those vegetables can look. Whether or not you want to eat them, that's up to you. But I love that we can use these pieces with the mice, or maybe we've got something else in mind that we can use, like all of these wonderful pieces that are nice sized dies, are not tiny. Bon appetit, that comes from the In the Kitchen sentiments as well. So I know I'll be using some of these mice for the holidays and just year round because I think they've got some wonderful, wonderful pieces. Now, there's one last one that I did not have time to play with, and I can't wait to play with this one. This will be ideal for a father's birthday, or a guy friend's birthday, or Father's Day. This is with the big mouse again. But I love to look at all those tools. And I've got a lot of tool dies, but I know I don't have a square anywhere. I don't have a level. And then there's some, if we look over here, some dies that they use in his apron. Some of the tools for his apron, but we could use those with the small mouse as well. So another die set chock full of great tools that we can use with a lot of other dies, I'm sure. And then there's also a stamp set, Best Dad Sentiments. Again, some different sentiments. That's what I like. They're not all the same as everything else. And I think a lot of these I could use for my dad. So this will be a card I will be playing with, or this die set that I'll be playing with very soon. So that is a third mouse collection. Again, when you go to these scrapbook expos, you buy all this stuff and then you take it home. And, I always tell myself, I can't just let it sit in the sack. I got to get it out and play with it. And I was really enthused and energized to do that with these mice, knowing I could use a lot of these for holiday cards. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you again in a future video.